is evolving rapidly, and the human need for resources is increasing every day. Metals and various energy sources are particularly important for our technological advancement. Eurasian Resources Group, ERG, provides the world with these materials. Our group is a leading high-carbon ferrochrome, copper, and cobalt producer, and one of the largest suppliers of iron ore, alumina, and aluminum in the CIS region. The group supports global initiatives to promote a green economy and develop alternative energy sources. ERG operates in 15 countries, with the majority of our production assets located in Kazakhstan. Today, ERG represents 1/3 of the mining and metals industry in Kazakhstan. ERG is the first and largest producer of alumina and high-grade primary aluminum in Kazakhstan. The company's electric power assets account for 17% of all electricity generated in the country. The key overseas markets are Europe, China, Russia, and Japan. ERG's Metal Coal RTR, a major copper and cobalt tailings reprocessing operation in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, is ramping up its Phase 2 of production. It is now the second largest standalone cobalt producer in the world, as well as a major supplier of copper. In Brazil, ERG's Bamin subsidiary, a large integrated iron ore mining and logistics project, has started commercial production of iron ore with the launch of its Pedra de Ferro mine in January 2021. ERG has also started the construction of Porto Sul, a deep-water port in Ilhéus, and has won the auction to complete and operate the first 537-kilometer stretch of the Fiol East-West Integration Railway. In this spirit, ERG is accomplishing its mission of responsibly unlocking the potential of the Earth and its people, ensuring the prosperity of those who rely on us.
We know it's going to take many forms of energy to meet the world's needs while creating a cleaner future for all. At Chevron, we're lowering the carbon emissions intensity of our operations, investing in lower carbon technologies, and exploring renewable fuels of the future. We work hard to care for the homes we love, but it's only human to protect the one we share.
Это что такое? Да не игра. Вот это. Возможно, вы думаете, что виза — это просто банковские карты. А что, если я скажу, что название, которое вы видите повсюду, это больше, чем просто надпись? Виза — это сеть. Она помогает людям переводить деньги отсюда вот сюда. И помогает этому парню работать онлайн, чтобы он мог продать джинсы, находясь да хоть бы на этой горе. Это волшебство, которое остается за кадром, но может объединить всех со всеми. Эта сеть позволяет взглянуть на мир свежим взглядом за утренней чашкой кофе и меняет точку зрения на то, что делает бизнес бизнесом. Виза — это сеть, которая может объединить всех. Там, где вам нужно быть. Там, куда вы мечтаете попасть. Там, где вы заслуживаете быть. Эта сеть — ключ к исполнению мечты. Ведь виза каждый день открывает двери по всему миру, чтобы коммерция объединяла нас всех. Виза — сеть, которая работает для каждого.
Приближается эпоха интеллектуального мира. Усилия Huawei Enterprise направлены на цифровизацию предприятий, чтобы создать интеллектуальный мир, объединенный посредством сети. Мы предлагаем правительствам архитектуры и решения для создания умных городов, органам общественной безопасности решения по предотвращению кризисов и чрезвычайных ситуаций. Благодаря нашим продуктам и сервисам на базе приложений, финансовые организации интеллектуально управляют портфелями своих клиентов. Энергетический сектор объединяет цифровое производство и управление безопасностью для достижения устойчивого экологичного развития. В транспортном секторе наши продукты и решения способствуют увеличению безопасности и эффективности перевозок. Мы предлагаем инновационные решения для цифровых производств. В эпоху цифровой трансформации Huawei уделяет особое внимание инфраструктуре ИКТ. Компания использует технологические разработки, чтобы создавать цифровые платформы для клиентов в разных областях. Результат – оптимальное взаимодействие между облаком, устройствами и оборудованием. Cloud Pipe Device. IT-продукты Huawei становятся все популярнее на рынке. Решения, позволяющие анализировать цели и намерения пользователей, Intent-Driven Networks, увеличивают бизнес-потенциал клиентов. Недавно Huawei представила стратегию «Платформа плюс связь плюс экосистема» для корпоративного рынка интернета вещей, IoT. Компания сосредоточена на развитии лучших в отрасли частных беспроводных сетей, которые ускорят переход на интеллектуальное управление предприятиями. Облачное решение Huawei для коммуникаций, объединяющее все услуги в одном месте, All Service Converged Cloud Communication Solution, представляет собой простое средство связи и совместной работы. Решение для видеонаблюдения, Video Surveillance Solution, использует интеллектуальные средства для оценки последствий инцидентов и их предотвращения. Huawei собирается создать цифровую платформу для всех отраслей производства, чтобы обеспечить переход к интеллектуальному миру. Компания стремится построить взаимовыгодную партнерскую экосистему. Huawei создает инновации вместе с клиентами и партнерами в лабораториях Open Labs. Шаг за шагом компания становится самым популярным партнером в области ИКТ-услуг. В следующее десятилетие цифровая трансформация будет играть важную роль в различных промышленных областях. Huawei работает с партнерами и клиентами, чтобы построить полносвязный интеллектуальный мир.
The microphone is off. The microphone is off.
Good morning, dear ladies and gentlemen. So today is day number 3 of Astana Finance Days. And we are honored to host today His Excellency Prime Minister Smailov. And so he actually has some ideas to share with you. I think that today's session is very much important, especially in terms of the current situation, geopolitical tension, energy crisis, food crisis. We have outstanding panelists here, so the members of the cabinet, Ministry of Energy, Foreign Office, Ministry of Agriculture, and we have investors who are investing to Kazakhstan. So I think it will be great to discuss between panelists what's going on. But first of all, let me invite Prime Minister Smailov to endorse this session. Thank you very much.
Good morning, dear participants of the Astana Finance Days, dear ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the government of Kazakhstan, I would like to thank you for joining to our discussion on investing in energy and food sustainability. Lately, this topic has been dominating all over the world. The commodity prices are rising. Prices for hydrocarbons and foods are on the historic maximum. That would seriously affect the quality of life of every member of our closely integrated global society. Kazakhstan is a part of all global economic processes, therefore the global trends affect us too. With that in mind, we can certainly appreciate the timeliness of the political reforms initiated by the President, Mr. Kassym-Jomart Tokayev, at the beginning of this year. These reforms, once performed, will in turn trigger the deep economic transformations. Fortunately, Kazakhstan has very solid grounds, both political and economic, that we can rely on. Today, we are the gateway to the world's largest markets and rightfully considered as a transit hub in Central Asia. The annual trade turnover is estimated more than $100 billion. The country accounts for 53% of trade turnover in the region. In total, Kazakhstan provides access to the market on over 1 billion potential consumers, including Eurasian Economic Union, Central Asia, and China. Over the years of independence, Kazakhstan has attracted $390 billion of foreign direct investments, thus staying the largest FDI recipient in the Central Asia region. The majority of these investments were attracted in the last 10 years. In 2021, the inflow of FDI investment estimated at $24 billion, which is 38% higher than in previous year. That being said, in 2021, the share of investments in oil and gas was 28%, whereas in 2018-2019, this share was at as high as 50%. This shows the active ongoing diversification of the national economy. Considering the global turn of events with the commodity prices, we have to explore more into our energy and agriculture opportunities. Huge national reserves make the country an important supplier to global commodity markets. We are among the top 10 countries in the world in terms of explored reserves of most types of minerals. Moreover, Kazakhstan is the 6th largest country in the world by agricultural land areas. Both sectors are important in facilitating investments into creating the high value-added products. The government is providing favorable conditions and support to investors who come to Kazakhstan. There are currently 13 special economic and 36 industrial zones, which provide a preferential investment regime. The government welcomes foreign investors to initiate investment projects and conclude investment contracts. We have the Astana International Financial Center, which serves as the hub and attracts investors from all over the globe with its common English law. We also have the Council of Foreign Investors under the President of the Republic of Kazakhstan, and the Council for Attracting Investors under the Prime Minister. We can ensure that investors' interests will be taken into account as much as possible. We invite all investors having in mind what is happening in the world to invest in our country. I would like once again welcome you to Kazakhstan, the Astana Finance Days, and to this interesting discussion on investing in energy and food sustainability. Thank you very much for attention.
Prime Minister, thank you very much. So let me give a floor to Sersuma Chakrabarti, who is a former president of EBRD, but also advisor to the President Tokayev and deputy chairman of the Supreme Council on Reform. Please, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you very much, dear Kairat, for your very kind introduction. Prime Minister, Ministers, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, it's really a great pleasure to speak at this session alongside such distinguished speakers. Let me start with some current global trends, and then I'll talk about energy sustainability and food security and how we should move forward in those two areas. Now, I think people who know me know that it's not my habit to start a speech with depressing news. But I'm afraid the context for our work is tough. The economic situation in the world today is grim. Inflation is at levels which we've not seen since my youth. In response, central banks in major economies have started hiking up interest rates, in some cases very aggressively. This does not help the investment attractiveness of many emerging markets. And growth in the global economy is slowing down. The Chinese economy, as you all know, I think, suffered from very strict COVID-related lockdowns in the second quarter. The Russian economy is expected to shrink in 2022 and 23 due to the consequences of the conflict with Ukraine. And there's a possibility now of a US economic recession. That possibility has been rising. And these are just some of the examples. And Kazakhstan is part of a global system, and a country that directly suffers from the sanctions imposed on Russia because of the close economic and trade ties. So in this regard, the country must, of course, brace for challenging times ahead. But as I said yesterday, I think challenges also create opportunities to design and implement overdue economic reforms aimed at developing a healthy and diversified market economy with a vibrant private sector. And we have to recognize that these reforms could be quite painful in the short term, but with a very big payback in the medium and longer term. And I really want to congratulate the Prime Minister and the government for the actions they've been taking in this regard. So what of energy and food sustainability? Well, in my view, I think energy and food sustainability are two of the most important issues that we're all facing in 2022. With global energy markets and food chains now disrupted, energy and food prices have increased significantly. They've added to the economic and social challenges created by the slowing economic growth globally and the consequences of the pandemic. I think the situation in these two areas have also, of course, been exacerbated by the Russia-Ukraine conflict. So let's start by taking a moment to address energy sustainability. Now, we all know oil is a major commodity used to generate energy, and Kazakhstan is a large exporter of this commodity. The recent sharp rise in oil prices and gas prices for Europe has highlighted the fragility, I think, of the international energy system. It's forced many countries to double down on their efforts to generate energy from alternative sources, including renewables, nuclear, hydrogen. And some developed countries, as you've seen, are even returning to coal-fired energy generation, at least temporarily. Now, although Kazakhstan benefits directly from high energy prices, we've got to think and act long-term because of the processes related to low-carbon transition and the commitment to become carbon neutral in the next few decades. So scaling back the ambitions to become carbon neutral would also have, in my view, significant negative economic consequences. Some countries are already moving forward with measures that penalize excessive carbon emission. For example, the European Union a major importer of Kazakh goods, including oil, is currently working on a carbon border adjustment mechanism, which could make Kazakh goods less competitive. So given that picture, what should Kazakhstan do? Well, I think it needs to take a comprehensive set of actions. First, Kazakhstan must invest in renewables and alternative sources of energy. These have proven feasible and design proper regulations and incentives to make them happen. The end goal should be to greatly, if not fully, reduce the reliance on fossil fuels. And I think Kazakhstan has enormous potential in terms of renewables and the necessary raw material base. In fact, I'm very proud that EBRD, when I was president, actually invested in the first solar and the first wind projects in Kazakhstan. We can do more of this together. And I think the country has made progress in this area, but it definitely needs to continue. Second, we've got to promote the use of energy-efficient technologies. This should reduce the energy intensity of the economy and direct the spare energy supply to other areas critical to the economy. And third, we must promote green finance to fund the need for investments that I just mentioned. The AIFC, Green Finance Center, has significant expertise in this area, and the government, financial institutions, and private companies need to take advantage of that expertise. Let me now turn to the issue of food security. Now, I think we should be fair here. Problems in the food supply chains started at the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic, but of course they've been exacerbated by the Russia-Ukraine conflict. We all know that these two countries are among the largest producers of agricultural commodities. According to some estimates, nearly 2 billion people will be affected by food insecurity by the end of 2022. 2 billion people, that's a huge number. Now, since the start of the conflict, over 20 countries have imposed restrictions on exports, and many other countries may well follow their lead. And these disruptions to the free flow of food between countries are significantly contributing to food inflation. In the first 4 months of 2022, around 90% of emerging market and developing economies had food price inflation of higher than 5%, and that trend is forecast to persist for some time. And remember, these problems, hurt low and middle income countries much more than others because they spend a larger share of their national income on food. So in this context, what should Kazakhstan do? Well, I think Kazakhstan should ramp up its efforts in a number of areas. First, we must promote the use of efficient and sustainable technologies that can help increase yields. Second, we've got to invest in infrastructure, such as roads, storage facilities, and processing equipment, so that farmers can efficiently deliver their products to consumers. Third, funding must be made more accessible for farmers, including by using AIFC to design market-oriented solutions. We've also got to ensure that financial support is more evenly distributed between small and large enterprises. And fourth, we must minimize international trade disruptions. We need to keep trade flows as open as possible, minimize export bans, and coordinate measures with other countries. This is going to contribute to the smooth flow of foodstuffs between countries and help reduce shocks in countries that rely very heavily on imports. So, ladies and gentlemen, today I've quickly covered what may seem like quite distinct issues, but actually, in my view, they're very closely interrelated and critical for our economies and people. Energy and food sustainability deserve our special attention these days, not least because I think the regional and global economic climates may well continue to be difficult for some years to come. I strongly believe that Kazakhstan will design and will implement the relevant policies effectively and get through the current challenges to become a country with a more dynamic economy and greater social prosperity. It can, and it must. Thank you very much, and I wish you good luck for the rest of the day.
Prime Minister, again, thank you very much for your keynote speech, and thank you very much, Sir Suma, for the great introduction. I think we now would like to invite panelists, speakers to the panel, and let me pass moderation to Marat Berimjan. And again, once more, Thank you very much, Prime Minister, for supporting Astana Finance Days and AFC development.
Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, as His Excellency Prime Minister mentioned, energy and food, these are the top dominant topics these days. And we have to do more to explore more opportunities and increase the utilization of our abundant resources. And that is because energy is an engine of socio-economic opportunities that touches on every single aspect of sustainable development. And of course, the ability to access energy is a fundamental enabler to achieving food security and zero hunger. And we're going to do just that with an amazing panel. We're going to discuss what would be the role of Kazakhstan in addressing and tackling and contributing towards effectively resolving such a food and energy crisis. And to that, please allow me to invite our dear distinguished speakers to the stage. Mr. Bolat Akchulakov. He's the Minister of Energy of the Republic of Kazakhstan, who carries out the implementation of state policies in the oil and gas, energy, nuclear, and renewable sectors. Mr. Norman Storm, Managing Director of Condor Petroleum, who has worked in Kazakhstan for over 20 years in many different sectors, including oil and gas exploration, oil field services, domestic and international road transportation services. Mr. Sanjar Zharkeshev, the CEO of national company Kazakhgas. He's a drilling engineer by background, and having worked for many years at ExxonMobil, his global projects, and he was also a global oil and gas expert at McKinsey, and a man with several international awards, like the award for innovation in oil and gas, like the award for SPE Drilling Engineering Award of the World Society of Petroleum Engineers. And it is a great pleasure also to mention the Queen Elizabeth II's Award for contribution to the development of the UK oil and gas industry. So I'm absolutely sure that Kazakhstan is in great hands, and we're so lucky to have him with us here today. Also, I would like to invite to the stage Mr. Almaz Aydarov, who is the Vice Minister for Investments, who has about 20 years of experience in central government, in regional government, at national companies and private sectors. And he is a man responsible for the implementation of the government policy on attracting much needed foreign direct investment into the country. Next, I would like to invite Mr. Zhenis Oserbay. He's the Vice Minister of Agriculture, which is the central executive body that provides management in the field of agriculture, water, fisheries, forestry, land resource, cartography, as well as the work of the whole government with regards to the agriculture. And next, I would like to invite to the stage Mr. Kenan Ackerman, who is the Regional Director for Kazakhstan at Çelik Holding, which is one of the largest Turkish financial and industrial groups engaged in activities in agriculture, energy, mining, textile, construction, and telecommunications sector. So, dear ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, we have our panel speakers here, and I just wanted to briefly highlight what His Excellency Prime Minister laid out for us as a foundation for today's discussion. He mentioned the importance of energy and food sustainability, and he actually instructed us all to do more in terms of exploring new investment opportunities so that we can invest more, produce more, and supply more, both to regional and global frameworks. Also, I would like to highlight what Sir Suma has mentioned about the urgency of the topic with regards to fighting hunger, with regards to establishing and relinking these supply chains. And I'm very, very happy to note that previously we used to be called a landlocked country, but now if we fully utilize our transport and logistics and transit potential, we will become a land-linked country. And with that, please allow me to give the floor to our first speaker, Mr. Akchulakov, who will deliver a speech addressing the integration of Kazakhstan into the global energy supply chains and the current market situation. Mr. Akchulakov, the floor is yours.
Dear ladies and gentlemen, dear participants of the conference, I'm glad to welcome you at the Astana Finance Days, and our meeting today is of particular importance given the global turbulence. Topic of our panel session today is investing in energy and food sustainability, the case of Kazakhstan. It's quite relevant in the context of the changing global market conditions. The energy industry in this sense is of the key strategic importance both for our country and for the region as a whole. We are facing growing risk associated with the volatile world price of energy resources as well as other global challenges. All this makes us reassess the strategic development of Kazakhstan's energy sector and search for the new ways to ensure the energy sustainability of our country. For Kazakhstan, the oil and gas sector is of fundamental strategic importance. For 30 years of independence, energy has been the remain a key sector for our economy, of our country's economy. Ensuring national energy security as well as the availability and sustainability of energy resources to the public has become the main priority of the state policy of Kazakhstan. Over the years of independence, oil production in Kazakhstan has increased by almost 3.5 times, from 26.6 million tons in 1991 to 86 million tons in 2021, securing 13th place in terms of oil and gas condensate production worldwide. According to OPEC, the stable growth of hydrocarbon production in Kazakhstan over the years contributed to the country's entry into the top 10 oil exporting countries in the world. The volume of oil exports increased from 12 million tons in 1991 to 85 million tons in 2020, while significantly expanding the geography of raw material supplies to more than 3,000 countries. Recognizing the investment climate in the country as one of the most favorable in the entire post-Soviet space, major oil giants from Europe, China, Russia and the USA have been working in Kazakhstan for the years. The stock of foreign direct investment in the industry in Kazakhstan totally it's more than $200 billion US over the years of independence. Today, in order to improve the investment climate for projects in the field of subsoil use, we seek to improve the legislative framework by facilitating more attractive conditions for the investors. For example, the government, jointly with the Kazakhstan Council of Foreign Investors Association, is working on the introduction of the improved model contract and the license for the geological exploration of subsoil. These documents facilitate fiscal and regulatory preferences for the complex projects as well as the offshore projects. I mean the complex, which is not easy to develop. In addition, the petrochemical industry plays an important role in the country's energy sector development. Thus, to increase the investment attractiveness of petrochemical projects, the ministry has developed a mechanism based on the principle of one document for an investment agreement for large petrochemical projects. Such a mechanism aims to improve the investment climate for the production of high value-added goods of the petrochemical industry. Global climate change is one of the pressing challenges to our time. Today, the world community is searching for a universal solution for all parties to decarbonize the oil and gas industry. We are working on developing renewable and alternative energy sources to achieve a 50% share of renewable energy in the country energy balance. According to the approved concept for the transition of Kazakhstan to a green economy by 2030, the share of renewable energy will reach at least 15%. And you know that we have the aim and goal to reach carbon neutrality by 2060. In addition, since 2018, Kazakhstan has been using an open mechanism for international auctions. For the period from 2018 to 2021, auctions were held in electronic format for renewable energy projects with a total capacity of 1.7 gigawatts. The mechanism made it possible, on the one hand, to make the process of selecting projects and investors more transparent and apprehensible, and on the other hand, to rely on more efficient technologies and projects allowing to minimize the impact on tariffs for end consumers, final consumers, from the commissioning of renewable energy capacities. We do not imagine the further effective development of the industry without new technologies. We are focused not only on achieving quantitative but also qualitative indicators in all segments of the industry through innovation. Achieving carbon neutrality is also possible through the introduction of a wide range of new technologies, such as the best available technologies for energy companies, as well as the carbon capture, user storage technologies. Purpose of implementing the best available technologies is to prevent or minimize the negative anthropogenic impact on the environment. Additionally, one of the promising areas in the sector is the development of hydrogen energy. We are currently planning to conduct scientific research in 3 areas. First one is hydrogen production. Second, transportation and storage of hydrogen. And third, converting hydrogen into electricity. In order to develop the global concept of green hydrogen, renewables should act as an external source for the production of hydrogen by electrolysis. Dear colleagues, it's important for us to maintain comprehensive cooperation and constructive and balanced dialogue with all stakeholders. For more than 30 years, our country has put international principles of cooperation in the energy sector at the forefront, as well as a commitment to strengthening global energy security. We strive to further develop and strengthen mutually beneficial relations to create and maintain favorable conditions for the development of energy industry. And I wish you success. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister, for laying out so clearly the messages that would increase our ability to access energy, and also for all your efforts in providing transparency and clarity to the energy opportunities we have in our country. Thank you very much. So with that, please allow me to give the floor to our next speaker, Mr. Storm, who will share with us their new project to construct and operate Central Asia's first modular LNG facility, as well as his personal experience in investing into our country in the energy sector. Please.
Good morning, everyone. It's really a pleasure to be here and see some familiar faces and some other faces who I don't know, unfortunately. But first of all, I would like to thank His Excellency Prime Minister Shmailov, the Minister of Energy, His Excellency Bulat Ashalakov, the Chairman of Kazakh Gas, Sanjar Sharkeshov, as well as the Governor of the Astana International Financial Center, Kairat Kalambekov, and other dignitaries for inviting me to such a distinguished event. My name is Norman Storm, and I'm the Managing Director of Condor Energies, as well as the Chairman of the Kazakhstan chapter of the Canada-Eurasia Chamber of Commerce. I guess to move to the next slide. Yes. To better depict the company's transition as a producer and distributor of more environmental friendly forms of energy, our company recently changed its name from Condor Petroleum to Condor Energies. Several years ago, Condor's senior management and board of directors made the strategic decision to transition our company from oil exploration and production and instead turn its focus to the development of natural gas and gas derivative fuels. This strategy led the company divesting itself of its oil assets and continuing to explore and expand gas production activities in Turkey, and at the same time look to acquire and develop additional upstream gas fields in Central Asia in the republics of Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan. Our corporate group has had a long-term presence in Kazakhstan, and over the last 25 years, we've invested more than $325 million into the country's economy. Over the past 15 years, Condor invested $250 million of this amount, and the group has made other significant investments in manufacturing, road transport services, oil field services, mining of industrial minerals, and infrastructure development projects. We clearly believe that Kazakhstan is a safe and secure destination for foreign direct investment, and the recent reforms introduced by His Excellency President Tokayev to increase transparency and rule of law have only reinforced an already positive outlook that we have towards investment in Kazakhstan. In an effort to support President Tokayev's commitment to achieve carbon neutrality by 2060, Condor will invest a further $350 million over the next 3 to 4 years into Kazakhstan's economy as part of its Phase 1 investment plan to establish Central Asia's first LNG natural gas production. The targeted production after the completion of its Phase 1 development will be 300,000 metric tons of LNG per year. And in 5 years upon the completion of its total and planned and development, the company will produce 600,000 tons annually and provide 700 to 750 new jobs in the country. As previously mentioned, the use of LNG has environmental benefits when compared to diesel via its 30% lower greenhouse gas emissions, its 95% lower particulate emissions, and its 100% lower sulfur emissions. As a result, LNG is not only better for the environment as a whole, but it also provides health benefits for the country's population, since it leads to an improvement in overall air quality if compared with the usage of diesel. Condor's LNG strategy for Kazakhstan includes the construction of multiple modular LNG production facilities throughout the country. In this way, it will be able to streamline supply and delivery logistics and thereby ensure lower costs and a dependable supply of LNG to its customers. Most of the audience is probably familiar with the multi-billion-dollar conventional LNG facilities that have been constructed throughout the world in countries such as Australia and Qatar. These large-scale plants can produce up to 15 million tons of LNG per annum, can take 5 to 6 years to construct, and can cost as much as $10 billion. They are generally associated with marine locations for easy delivery to overseas markets via large ocean-going tankers. Instead of these conventional plants, Condor will introduce state-of-the-art modular liquefaction technology to Kazakhstan and subsequently to other regions of Central Asia. Condor's technology was originally developed by the United States Department of Energy and later acquired and further refined and engineered by the company's business partner in the United States. This liquefaction technology doesn't require external refrigerants and thereby enjoys both cost and environmental advantages compared to other liquefaction technologies available in the market. Condor is working closely with the Minister of Energy of the Republic of Kazakhstan as well as Kazakh to initiate its LNG project. The project closely follows the guidelines developed by the Kazakhstan government as part of its Resolution 797, which provides an action plan and roadmap for the gasification of the country's transportation sector. Included in the government's action plan is the gasification of the National Railroad, Kazakhstan-Timir-Jolie, the long-haul road freight transport sector, as well as specialty equipment used in mining and agriculture sectors. Discussions are ongoing with Kazakhgas, whereby Condor and Kazakhgas will establish a joint venture to implement and develop this exciting initiative in Kazakhstan. Agreements have also been signed with the National Railroad as well as Kazmor Transfloat to look at the viability of converting the Caspian Sea shipping fleet to operate on LNG as a replacement for mazout and diesel. As the world continues to move towards cleaner energy, Condor believes that natural gas and its derivative fuels, LNG and CNG, will play an important transitional role in this energy reform process. LNG's approved economics and efficiencies, combined with the fact that the technology is proven and reliable, makes the implementation of LNG an ideal solution for the reformation of Kazakhstan's transportation sector towards a greener future. In closing, I would like to thank the Ambassador of Kazakhstan to Canada, His Excellency Kamaldinov, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, His Excellency Tulila Berde, as well as Mirjan Yusupov from Kazakh Invest for their very valuable help in helping to move this project forward. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you very much, Mr. Storm. I would like to highlight three things that I greatly appreciate about you and your activities in Kazakhstan. So first, thank you very much for your firm belief in our country and doing business for more than 20 years. Thank you very much for your hard work, that you are not only in production business, but you are also in exploration. So with a risk appetite, you are exploring more resources. And also, I specifically want to thank you for your entrepreneurial spirit. Because sometimes we don't need a super expensive multi-billion-dollar LNG project. Sometimes super expensive Ferraris don't work. A very good, reliable Toyota Land Cruiser would work just fine here in Kazakhstan in some cases. So in that, with your entrepreneurial spirit, you're finding innovative ways to apply innovative technologies into our regional specifics, into our climate specifics, into our geology structure. So thank you very much for doing all of this. With that, kindly allow me to invite Mr. Zharkeshev to the stage, who will talk to us about the role of Kazakhgas in providing energy security to Kazakhstan through proper operation of the gas transmission systems, uninterrupted gas supply, and strengthening of partnerships in the global world. Mr. Zharkeshev, the floor is yours.
So, good morning, everybody. I think today we had a very good introduction by the Minister of Energy about the security issues in the energy industry, and Condor Petroleum and Condor Energies gave a good flavor of what the potential could be. But today I was thinking about what should we, draw attention to. What is the next big thing for Kazakhstan to attract more FDIs, right? And I think it could well be gas. Here's why. Kazakhgas as a national company was basically established last year, but as Kaztransgaz, the previous name suggests, was part of Kazmunaygas for many years, and thanks to the president, we became independent national company and given full rights of the other national companies, just like Kazmunaygas and others, portfolio companies of Samruk Kazna. We're fully owned by the government, and we cover the whole value stream of the gas industry. Upstream exploration, production, midstream transportation, and downstream processing, distribution, and marketing. So with our priority right to acquire any license from the government without any auction, without competition, we'll be focusing on getting the best licenses and actually offering it to the investor. We want to serve the investors as a trusted partner, de-risker, and co-investor ourselves. We've got capabilities on transporting, dozens of billions of cubic meters of gas, and we've got a huge network of distribution gas lines all over the country, and we've got a potential to be the gas transportation hub in the Central Asia. If you think about the geographical location of Kazakhstan and Russia and Kazakhstan itself, could well be a gas proficient country. So there's a lot of gas both in Russia and Kazakhstan, and there is a gas deficit in China, Pakistan, and India, and we need to realize that potential. So in between the proficient and deficit, Kazakhstan lays, and that's why we need to invest in our gas transportation system, resource base, etc. But think about what happened over the last few decades, right? We've enjoyed good investments to the oil industry. So thanks to the philosophy of the energy industry here, the leadership of Kazakhstan, we were able to attract the international oil and gas companies tens of billions of dollars to the oil industry. But just like any story, there are ups and downs. And if you look at 2022, we're in the downside of the foreign direct investments in Kazakhstan to the oil industry. What is the next big thing to keep these investors in country so that they don't leave the country? What is the next big thing to attract new investors? I think this could be gas. It's clean. It is a fuel for the energy transition between dirty to clean. And also, it could well be abundant in Kazakhstan. I'll show you an interesting slide about it. And we as a Kazakhgas company, a national company, are obliged to help to realize this potential. The opportunity is right there. We just need to go grab it. So one of the initiatives we're pushing is constructing the new gas transportation system parts so that we're ready to take all the proficient gas to the deficit countries. Second was building new gas processing plants so that we can convert the associated natural gas to the ready consumer-ready trade gas. We're also building some new gas chemical complexes. We're actually planning to do that in different parts of Kazakhstan where abundant gas resources exist. And we're initiating the new research and development center, the Center of Competency for Gas Industry in Kazakhstan. A lot of things can be done. Opportunity is there, resources are there, we just need to execute it. Thinking about the Kazakhstan's journey to the net zero, as Mr. Akchelakov mentioned, the energy balance, if you look at 2050, and we know what's happening in the world as well, energy security becomes a big deal. Yes, the climate agenda is very important. We're committed to that. We're going to deliver on it. If you think about the energy balance by 2030, about 25–30% of the electricity generation should come from gas. So we need to be the transition fuel to push away coal. But at the moment, it could be at risk if we don't do the reforms in the gas industry, which we are. We are doing the reforms, right? So, and also the hydrogen economy, as Mr. Akchelakov mentioned, today we're going to have a hydrogen forum. So Kazakhgas will be basically supporting this to not only think about green hydrogen, but also blue hydrogen, right? Directly related to natural gas. And obviously, to be able to reach this energy balance so that we can hit our ESG goals, the net zero goals, we need to make sure we rejuvenate the gas industry. So in the blue part, the turquoise color part is gas, and how important it will be very soon. To reach these objectives, we're coming up with a new strategy, so-called Renewed Kazakhgas, but it has to be the vehicle, the enabler to reach the energy security, first of all, and then energy transition goals. So 5 pillars. First of all, the increasing the resource base of trade gas, and this is absolutely critical. We've got production-ready assets that don't need a whole lot of exploration, ready for production. We just need to invest a little bit in, we can produce more gas. We need to build more gas processing plants so we can convert this associated gas to the trade gas and reduce reinjection. We've got a lot of injection volumes being basically used to lift up the liquids. However, we can use that to produce more trade gas as well. Second direction is the development of the domestic market. As President tasked Kazakhstan and the other producers of natural gas in Kazakhstan to prioritize domestic market. There is an exponential growth of gas consumption in Kazakhstan over the last 4 or 5 years. The internal consumption grew 50%, and we have to make sure that the population, the small, medium-sized enterprises are satisfied internally in Kazakhstan, and then think about export. Talking about export, the third direction is the gas transit and export capabilities. So as I said about the proficit and deficit countries in gas, realizing Kazakhstan potential to become the Central Asian gas hub, and we need to continue boosting our gas transportation system. So investment projects we're pushing there are very attractive. And also deliver on our commitments to China on our export potential, on export contracts. We need to continue being a trusted partner to deliver a stable gas supply to export. The fourth one, the downstream and gas process chemistry, I'll talk about it in more detail, but one of the priority areas is high value added products like methanol, blue ammonia, urea, blue hydrogen, etc. And the fifth one, investment in operational efficiency. So we are getting ready for IPO, as Mr. Satkaliyev said the day before yesterday, about the opportunity to get to IPO, but there's a lot of housekeeping needs to be done. We are doing that, and we are obtaining our ESG and SDG rankings. So the SDG goals in ESG is basically core philosophy of Kazakhstan's new strategy, and we're committed to the UN SDG goals. And as Samruk Kazna portfolio company, we're basically transforming ourselves to ensure that ESG is implemented in the right way. If you remember this slide, right, how to realize that blue part, to make sure that we can capture that attention, attention of the global investment industry, right, so that we can realize that new FDIs to Kazakhstan. What do we need to do? So a lot of work is being done by the Ministry of Energy. So as a matter of fact, the comprehensive plan to develop the gas industry, the second part here, you see the blue part, has been approved by the government, and thanks to the work with the Ministry of Energy and the basically teamwork with Kazakhstan, it will basically rejuvenate the industry. The first part on the top of the pyramid, the strategy for achieving the carbon neutrality by 2060 is being developed by the Ministry of National Economy. Tremendous work is being done by the ministry and the government. And what's missing here, the third part, is a Kazakhstan's new strategy. Once we do that, we need to have an overarching philosophy on the energy security. That should basically marry all these documents to make sure that we prioritize energy security. We know what's happening in Europe, right, with the renaissance of coal industry because of the energy crisis, right? So we need to make sure that we don't that we don't shoot ourselves on the foot, ensure the wise usage of coal, and make sure that we at the same time hit our energy transition goals. We proposed to develop this kind of energy security document with conjunction with the Ministry of Energy, obviously with the Foreign Investors Council, and we want to volunteer ourselves to help to coordinate this. Obviously, it's going to be the intergovernmental, inter-ministerial work, and with the help of the First Deputy Prime Minister, who actually works with the Foreign Investors Council, I think we can reach this objective very quickly. And I'm almost done here. Good news is that Kazakhstan has vast gas resources, 3.8 trillion cubic meters of gas, recoverable commercial gas. That is enough for more than 100 years. All we need to do is convert that gas to trade gas. It means we need to build more gas processing plants. So, and also we can resolve the issues of the energy, gas deficit countries, neighboring countries, so we can transport our gas to those countries as well. But all this map shows the only gas fields. We're not showing the oil fields. So they're all over the country. We just need to go and grab them, attract investors. And as we're doing the reform of the pricing in Kazakhstan, we're introducing the new pricing model for gas producers, and all of a sudden the producers will be very motivated to produce gas. Otherwise, the increase of gas resources will not happen. So we're pushing for that legislative change. Upstream, midstream, downstream projects, we can talk about in more details. I'm not going to talk about here a lot, but these are very lucrative, high return on investment projects. You know, catch us, we can talk about it in more details. But I would just want to draw attention to the kind of major flagship projects we're pushing at Kashagan. Well, instead of re-injecting that the gas, we're going to utilize it so that we can process it and make it to trade gas. So at the moment it's being built. We're going to build 4 plants like that with the consortium of NCOC, the Kashagan project, and attracting new investors. So the first part is Kazakhstan part, so it's full-blown operations ongoing. So the gas is the next big thing to attract new investors in Kazakhstan. So we invite all the investors to invest in energy transition globally in Kazakhstan as well, and invest in gas and invest with Kazakhstan. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Zharkeshev, for all your hard work in terms of improving the operational efficiency of Kazakhstan, which we all see and we all know the numbers. And the new leadership team has been working from day one very, very hard on this, but also on embarking into a new strategic, and I would say quite ambitious strategic goals to help our country with energy security and to supply more energy and more gas into the market. So my Aberdeen University professor geology professor used to say that oil and gas is usually found where oil and gas is. And we have abundant resources. We've got trillions of dollars of oil and gas resources in Kazakhstan. But in order for us to produce more, we need to invest more into the processing side. And as Mr. Sanjar mentioned, so processing would allow not only to produce trade gas, a valuable consumer good, but also would help to produce more gas and help produce more liquids, more oil in our country. So please, dear investor community, especially from global transnational companies in petrochemicals and gas chemistry, so please, I think you have a wonderful leadership team now at Kazakhstan that you can work together with to do great many projects. So with that, let us turn to the state policy and state support on attracting and facilitating foreign direct investment. And it is my great pleasure to give the floor to Mr. Almas Aydarov, who will deliver a speech on the investment potential of our country and all the hard work that government is doing to support that. Please.
Thank you, Marat. Thank you, Marat. My speech is not so complicated technically like Sanjar's speech, but at the same time consuming. Good morning, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, thank you AFC teams for organizing these AFD days, offline days, to have opportunity to meet our old partners, new partners here in Nur Sultan. It's a long time we don't have offline meetings here in Nur Sultan. Today the world is going through a challenging period of uncertainty caused by the regional conflicts, disruption of production and supply chains, as well as the ongoing consequences of the COVID-19 pandemic still. Economic forecasts indicate a slowdown of growth in the global economy by about a third this year. According to the World Bank reports, this could be a prelude to the biggest recession since 1976-79, and when the impacts of the current crisis is the rise in energy and grain prices, which may result in humanitarian catastrophe, exposing hundreds of thousands of people to the risk of starvation. With respect to Kazakhstan, we have experienced some challenging times in the last few years, starting from the COVID-19 outbreak in 2020, which had a global black swan effect on everyone, including our country. As you well know, the pandemic caused a sharp decline of global FDI in 2020, with a negative impact on the most productive types of investment, namely in the new industrial and infrastructure projects. In developed countries and countries with the economies, it's in transition, FDI flows decreased by 58%. Kazakhstan was not an exception. Our FDI flows in 2020 dropped by almost 30%, and it was a 70.2 billion USD. Despite these challenges, we continue to work actively to attract new and stimulate existing investors. to reinvest. By the end of 2021, Kazakhstan returned to the pre-pandemic level and of FDI, and volume growth, it was 23.7 billion, which is 37% higher compared to the 2020. And we believe and hope to save this volume in the existing year. As you can see, we adapted quite well to the circumstances and learned to live with the pandemic. Therefore, we had a quite optimistic forecast for the 2022, but then came the tragic January events, which we have to admit provided a serious blow to investment climate for our country. Many investors have expressed their concerns during these events. To this regard, we conducted a full-scale explanatory work among the investment community and the foreign and local mass media. Almost 700 meetings and calls were held since the first days of unrests with foreign diplomatic and business representatives. This includes hotline calls and personal meetings with the headquarters of foreign investors which are present in Kazakhstan, both existing and new ones. The message was clear, and it was delivered by President Tokayev. An open-door policy for foreign investment remains our strategic priority. The state will continue to fulfill all its obligations and guarantees to our partners and investors. Moreover, the general crisis became a trigger for further improvements. Presidents introduced landmark reforms which will accelerate Kazakhstan's political and economical modernization. The political transformation is aimed at forming fair rules of the game, eradicating favoritism and monopolies in all spheres of life. Just my colleagues from Kazakhstan highlighted a new strategy even in one company, in one sector. We embark on unprecedented decentralization of state power, enhancing checks and balances. As we have managed to stabilize the situation and recover the investors' confidence, the geopolitical crisis began in the region. As a result, about 11,000 sanctions and from the 40 countries were adopted against Russia. Also, there is no direct effect on Kazakhstan. We are still affected by the sanctions policy, as we share the longest continuous borders with Russia, almost 7.5 thousand kilometers. The bilateral trade turnover the last year amounted to 25 billion USD in 2021. In addition to that, there are no uniform rules for the application of sanctions, even among the companies. So we have organized a number of visits and consultations with the US and European Union counterpartners in order to avoid the potential negative consequences for our national economy. All these events, together with the changing sentiments of global investors, are leading us to beginning of new investment cycle. To increase our investment attractiveness in the next decades, in the next 5 years especially, we just adopted and received a new concept of investment policy. Just last week we received a degree of government. And of course it's including ESG requirements. The concept focuses on providing tailored support for each investor, as well as attracting quality investment to ensure further growth of our economy. And the targets, it's 25% of GDP in 2026 of internal investments in assets, and foreign direct investments flow each year, 2026, it should be not less than 25 billion USD in Kazakhstan. With this in mind, and also taking into account the needs of our country, the global situation, we'll focus on attracting investment in the following sectors. Of course, it's agriculture sector, whose share is the FDI structure now is less than 1%, despite the fact that around 30% of our working population is employed in this sector. Taking into account that Kazakhstan is among the world's top 5 countries in terms of agriculture development potential, we can play a major role in enhancing food security in the region. Today we are interested in implementing joint investment projects for the deep processing of agricultural products based on the technologies. Another promising niche is renewable energy, as mentioned and highlighted by Minister of Energy. Today, the share of renewable energy source in the country's energy mix around 30%. There is a comprehensive support of investors in the form of the guaranteed long-term procurement PPA contracts rate and special rate for 15 years. Guarantee would like to ensure the transition to stable electricity flows, which will help us reach the 15% share of renewables by 2030. Our country can also play a major role in green hydrogen production. The quality of wind, sun, and large territories can make Kazakhstan a leader in this sector. We'll have a separate green hydrogen forum at Astana Finance Day right after this session, and I invite you to be a part of this session. It will be interesting. We have several new players in this sector in our country. In the current situation, it's also important for Kazakhstan to develop logistics and diversify the international transport routes. Other promising areas with big potential for investors, including services sector, fintech, and exploration for rare earth metals like lithium, nickel, cobalt, vanadium. Dear ladies and gentlemen, Kazakhstan remains an investment magnet for foreign investors. We are still leader in Central Asia of attracting foreign direct investments with a share 46% from the total FDI influence. And I believe that new investment policy together with you, we can adapt for the next 5 years great sustainability and great achievements and build a business-friendly environment. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Vice Minister Aydarov. And you are very right in highlighting that because of the current macroeconomic headwinds, we have to work hard and we have to run just in order to stand still. And I'm very happy to see the positive numbers that also is a result of the great hard work of the ministry in terms of attracting the FDIs and a 40% increase to last year. This is an amazing result, but of course, again, we need to run in order to stand still, so we have to do more. And in that, I also really like the focus now with the new investment policy. The concept of it is that with a much more emphasis on the quality investor and quality technologies that we bring to our country. So with that, please allow me to give the floor to our next speaker, Mr. Zhenis Oserbay, who will speak to us on the role of Kazakhstan in the development of global agricultural market. Please.
Thank you, Murat. So, dear ladies and gentlemen, dear participants, so on behalf of Ministry of Agriculture, let me greet you. We would like to say special thanks for the hosters of that event, the team of AIFC. So we do believe that the topics that have been raised here is crucial for both inside the country and outside. So the energy and agricultural sectors is on the top priority now. And as been said, so the Kazakhstan is number 6 in the world by the agricultural land. So it's more than 220 million hectares. And as been shown in the presentation of Alma, so currently the main investors into the country are the local investors. So and now the ministry, together with the government, is working hard on the developing new investment policy, which will give opportunities for the foreign investors to invest into the country. So let me briefly update you on what we're doing and what are the current structure of our sector. So, в 2021 году производство продуктов питания в натуральном выражении выросло на 2% и составило порядка 4,8 миллиарда долларов. Министерством сельского хозяйства был разработан план обеспечения продовольственной безопасности до 2024 года, который охватывает основные направления государственной
has been drawn up accordingly, which covers all of the main areas of state, social and economic policy for ensuring food security in the country. And the issue of food security is one of the main conditions for ensuring the country's national security. And it includes 3 aspects, which is the physical accessibility of food, the food security, and the implementation of the plan will allow us to ensure the food security, which is one of the key components of the national security, as I said before, and this will allow us to increase the level of this food security, as well as it will decrease the expenses that our people have. So I would like to actually draw your attention to the investment. Investment in agriculture increased by 33.3% and amounted 1.7 billion tenge. In January-April of 2022, the export of processed foods increased by 45% compared to the same period of the previous year and made up to $662 million. And last year, for instance, the figure was $456 million. The share of processed products in the total volume of exports of the agri-industrial complex products was 37.1%. Development of the export potential of the agri-industrial complex is one of the most priority directions. And in 2021, volume of exports of agri-industrial complex products increased by 14.8%, which is $3.7 billion. And such goods as cereals and oilseeds, flour and pasta, vegetable oils, cotton fiber, pastries, dominate in the export structure, and the main traditional markets are Eurasian Economic Union, Uzbekistan, Turkey, Afghanistan, and the European Union. And at the same time, there is a good potential for further increase in exports of products of flour and cereals industry, for instance. And the processing is growing, meat and dairy products. And one of the elements that supports this whole structure is subsidizing the agricultural business. And as it was said before, we concentrate at the moment at the local investment. However, there's a good potential in there, and the state provides loans. Investment subsidies get compensated in the amount of 25%, and there are subsidies aimed at improving crop yields, for instance, and in local currencies it is pretty competitive amounts of money. For instance, in 2021, we've planned to provide about $1 billion subsidies. And a great deal of work has been done in order to strengthen the legislative framework and the issues like land and water relations, forestry, seed farming, plant protection, veterinary medicine, pedigree farming, cattle breeding, grain market, all of those aspects are fully regulated. And in order to reduce the administrative and regulatory legislative barriers that hinder the development of entrepreneurship on the permanent basis, work is being done in order to improve the conditions for doing business in Kazakhstan. And the Ministry of Foreign Affairs has done a lot and has contributed a lot in order to strengthen the governmental/investor relationships, and we have timely instruments and tools allowing us to ensure and guarantee the stability of the legislative framework. And overall, I'd like to cite that the Republic of Kazakhstan pays its utmost attention to the investments, and we think that the work that has been performed by the state is successful.
What we would like to say, so the government and the Ministry of Agriculture is doing, we think, a good job to attract the investors, and we do believe that within the new development of Kazakhstan, so the attractiveness of our industry and our sector will increase, especially in these challenging days. And so we do believe that the investment and the finance of the foreign investors will be safely here, and we invite everyone to invest into the agriculture sector of Kazakhstan. Спасибо большое. Thank you very much.
Very much, Vice Minister Oserbay, for your elaboration on the government's efforts to provide local and regional food security, and also the new opportunities the government created to foster new investments in the agriculture sector. So, ladies and gentlemen, last but not least, it is my great pleasure to invite Mr. Kenan Ackerman to share his experience in investing in the agricultural sector and the evolution of work with attracting investments into Kazakhstan from an entrepreneur perspective. Please, Mr. Kenan, the floor is yours.
His Excellency, Mr. Energy, Minister of Energy, Mr. Bolat Akchuleko, and His Excellency Deputy Minister of Agriculture, Mr. Denis Oserbayev, and Mr. Excellency of Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs, Mr. Almas Aydaro. Dear moderators, distinguished speakers and guests, I greet everyone with my most sincere regards. Thank you for inviting me to this important panel on investing energy and food sustainability. I will begin with a brief introduction of Çelik Group and continue our roadmap investing in food segment here. Çelik holding companies, of which I am the Kazakhstan regional director, have been doing business in 7 different sectors in more than 20 years, since 1981, with more than 15,000 employees. We have reached an annual revenue level of $3.5 billion. Çelik Group has been contributing to the development of Turkish economy for more than 40 years. Energy, construction, agriculture, textile, mining, telecommunication, and finance sectors. In addition to Turkey, especially in the Turkic republics, Çelik has been playing a role as one of the most important investors and EPC contractor in the development of Turkmenistan in energy, agriculture, textile, industrial, ports, hospitals, and health buildings projects last 24 years. GAP Inşaat, which one of the Çelik Group companies among top 150 international contractor in global ENR list for the last 14 years. In the last 10 years, our investments have been increasing in the neighboring country, Uzbekistan, in the energy sector and contracting business. Especially for the last 3-4 years, we have been following the development and transformation in Kazakhstan closely. As a result of the latest political developments in Central Asia and neighboring geographies, the increase in the prices in energy markets, the limitation of the transportation and transportation routes, the importance of energy and food production, the transfer has been revealed much more. Kazakhstan, with its developing young population, land area, strategic location, is becoming more and more important in the region with each passing day. In our previous meetings with the Minister of Agriculture in Turkey and Kazakhstan, we are following investment projects to develop local sugar production, which has a strategic importance in the food sector. Considering food is the energy that people need, and this will be very important for the future welfare of its people. Investment projects in food and agriculture sector are becoming more or critical importance, just like energy projects. We monitor that necessary suitable conditions and infrastructure criteria for the agricultural production of the country are constantly being developed by the ministry officials, state governors, and social and entrepreneur corporations connected to the governors. My highlights, industrial and technological investment by foreign investors in the food sector will have permanent value for Kazakhstan. Therefore, the continuity of raw material, which will be needed by the factories and facilities to be established for food production, is of critical importance. The support of partnership of ministries and public institutions are important both of the supply of raw agricultural products for the long-term involvement of foreign investors. Climate and sunlight, finding the necessary water resources and preparing the irrigation infrastructure, it is very important for investors to increase the maintain the production capacity of other related agricultural products, especially sugar beet. For sugar production in North Pavlodar region and in South Almadar and Jambul regions in Kazakhstan. Finally, I would like to note about the geographical size of Kazakhstan and therefore the difficulties of transferring and transporting energy from one region to another. With our American, German and Japan business partners GE, Siemens and Mitsubishi, we closely follow the natural gas combined cycle power plant projects that are carried out in order to meet the increasing energy needs parallel with the growth rate, especially in the regions where the increase in young population is intense. Our leading group company, Çelik Enerji, completed 22 EPC projects, installed more than 60 gas turbines, and installed capacity more than 10,000 megawatt in Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, Turkey, Georgia, Iraq, Libya, Yemen, Senegal, and Malawi. Now we have followed NEEM Energy projects in Kazakhstan to be EPC contractor in Almaty, Kızılorda, and Turkestan regions. As Çelik Holding, we will be very happy, proud to contribute to growth and development of Kazakhstan in the coming new period. By this chance, thank you to Kazakh Invest CEO Mirjan Yusupov and his team, and it's been a big pleasure to meet with the Kazakh Gas CEO Sanjar Jarkesko. Thank you so much.
Mr. Ackerman, thank you so much for your wonderful speech here and also for investing and helping us build our agricultural sector. I was speaking at one forum the other day in Germany about the meat industry in agriculture, and I said something like, we produce a lot of meat in Kazakhstan, but because we like it so much and we love it so much, we eat a lot of it, and we don't have much to export, unfortunately. So, but with our dear colleagues like Mr. Ackerman and Çelik Holding and many other companies that help us to produce and grow more of our premium agricultural food products, I think this provides us the opportunity to share more with the world, with the regions, and in a global perspective. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, kindly allow me to give you a few closing remarks about our wonderful panel session today that was led by His Excellency Prime Minister, and he clearly laid out what we must do, and we have and showed the political will towards exploring more opportunities, both in energy and in food, and doing more. And also Sir Suma for such a wonderful elaboration of the global perspective and the headwinds and the tailwinds that we have. And I also want to sincerely thank again our distinguished speakers to show us the way, to show us the path. And with that, I would like to close with the words of our famous philosopher, Mr. Al-Farabi, who said that choosing the right actions begins by choosing the right path. And this quote was mentioned by the UN coordinator resident Michaela yesterday at the plenary session. And I want to close by saying that we have the right path in front of us. So it is up to us to implement and execute it, and not only for the benefit of our country, but for the benefit of the region and the world. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
қарқынды дамуда. Технологиялық ілгерілеу үшін металдар мен электр энергиясының түрлі көздері қажет. ENG әлемді осындай ресурстармен қамтамасыз етеді. ENG кәсіпорындары әлемнің 15 елінде жұмыс істейді. Қуаты кәсіпорындардың дені Қазақстанда шоғырланған. Компанияның соңғы 5 жылда елдің жалпы ішкі өнімге қосқан үлесі 5 триллион теңге. Қазақстандағы жоғары маркалы бастапқы алюминий және глинозем өндіретін алғашқы және жалғыз кәсіпорын ENG құрамында. Электр энергиясының 17%-ын ENG-дің электр энергетикалық активтері өндіріп тұр. Шетелге өнім өткізудің негізгі нарықтары Европа елдері, Қытай, Ресей, Жапония. Осы жетістіктердің барлығы біздің қызметкерлеріміздің еңселі еңбегінің жемісі. Компанияның басты құндылығы адам. ENG жердің және адамзаттың әлеуетін ұқыпты пайдалана отырып, өзіне сенім артқандардың өркендеуін қамтамасыз етіп келеді.
We know it's going to take many forms of energy to meet the world's needs while creating a cleaner future for all. At Chevron, we're lowering the carbon emissions intensity of our operations, investing in lower carbon technologies, and exploring renewable fuels of the future. We work hard to care for the homes we love, but it's only human to protect the one we share.
An excellence pursuer, a partner forever. China Construction Bank, CCB, was established in 1954, evolving from a policy bank, a specialized bank, a state-owned commercial bank, to a large-scale state-owned joint stock commercial bank. CCB has been continuously expanding its business scope and exploring new financial service offerings. With 65 years development, CCB has consistently been ranked among the world's top banks with its sound operating indicators. And its total assets have remained the second on a global scale for many consecutive years. In the year of 2014, when CCB celebrated its 60th anniversary, President Xi Jinping instructed the bank to improve the capabilities to serve national development, mitigate financial risks, and improve competitiveness in the international arena. CCB remains true to its original aspiration and keeps its mission firmly in mind, focusing on enhancing three capabilities, and puts forward the new finance concept centered on fulfilling the people's yearning for a good living. With the continuous deepening of new finance concept exploration, CCB serves national development more precisely and firmly, mitigates financial risks more actively and effectively, and engage in international cooperation more openly and confidently. At present, CCB's global network covers 30 countries and regions, including major international financial centers and prominent economies along the Belt and Road. The offshore RMB business grows rapidly. CCB London branches' accumulative RMB clearing volume reached nearly 40 trillion RMB, making London the largest offshore RMB business hub outside Asia. Cross-time zone, cross-region, multi-currency, and 24-hour non-stop financial services are provided globally. In its efforts to follow the opening up policy and better serve the real economy, CCB proactively offers services to Going Global and the Belt and Road clients and projects, strengthens collaboration with other financial institutions, participates in major international events, and cultivates and attracts globally competitive talents, so as to boost the bank's internationalization process. With rapid development of the Chinese economy and the Belt and Road Initiative, CCB will never stop its pursuit for better services and its commitment to making tremendous contributions.
Бұл не екен? Ойын емес, мынау. Бәлкім сіз визаны жай ғана банк карталар деп ойлайтын боларсыз. Егер мен сіздің әр жерде көріп жүрген атауыңыз жай ғана атаудан әлде қайда зор нәрсе екенін айтсам, не дер едіңіз? Виза дегеніміз желі. Ол адамдарға ақшаны ана жерден мына жерге аударуға көмектеседі. Және де мына жігітке тіпті таудың басына шығып алса да, онлайн жұмыс істеп, джинсаны сатуға көмектеседі. Бұл кадр сыртында қалатын, бірақ бәрін бір-бірімен байланыстыра алатын ғажайып. Ол таңғы кофе ішкенде әлемге жаңа көзбен қарауға мүмкіндік беріп, бизнесті бизнес ететін нәрселерге көз қарасты өзгерте алады. Виза бәрін біріктіре алатын желі. Сізге қажет жерде, сіздің арманыңыздағы жерде, сізге лайық жерде. Бұл желі арманды іске асырудың кілті. Өйткені виза күн сайын бүкіл әлем бойынша есік ашады. Коммерция бәрімізді біріктірсін деген оймен.
В самом сердце столицы Казахстана компания «Алдар» создала современный многофункциональный комплекс, крупнейший в стране. Абу-Даби Плаза – место притяжения людей и бизнеса, эпицентр столицы и украшение панорамы города. Абу-Даби Плаза стал ярким продолжением серии успешных проектов компании «Алдар». Абу-Даби Плаза – это многофункциональный комплекс с единой инфраструктурой для работы, отдыха и комфортной жизни. Торговый центр связывает воедино все здания комплекса. Живая атмосфера, центральное расположение, уникальные дизайнерские решения, форматы и всемирно известные бренды делают его привлекательным как для шопинга, так и для бизнеса. Жилой комплекс дарит возможность насладиться жизнью в столице, живя и работая с комфортом в самом сердце Нур-Султана. Отель «Шаратон» предоставляет жителям и гостям столицы первоклассное обслуживание, а также все необходимое для проведения деловых встреч и мероприятий на самом высоком уровне. Знаковая локация офисных площадей Абу-Даби Плаза, престиж и масштабность проекта делают комплекс идеальным местом для открытия представительства международных корпораций и активно развивающегося казахстанского бизнеса. Свободная планировка офисных пространств, подземный паркинг на 4000 автомобилей и продуманная инфраструктура. Здесь все предусмотрено для успеха вашего бизнеса. Почувствуйте пульс и ритм города вместе с Абу-Даби Плаза.